record on this computer. Today, I will discuss about job order costing. No? So, we are done with the CVP analysis, tama ba? And then after that, we discuss about the absorption and variable costing. And then we are now on the third, no, which is job order costing and the cost accounting cycle. All right. Maybe all of you know it is a review on your part since already discussed no in your cost accounting in your first year. All right. So parang ano lang, review in terms of the cost accounting. All right. Today I will discuss about the purpose of cost accounting. So we will go back to the main topic, which is, or the main subject matter, which is the cost accounting, and describe the flow of costs in terms of the job order costing system, or also known as the cost accounting cycle. All right. And then the importance and the nature of job cost sheet. Okay. And overhead rate. So maybe if we have time, we will discuss number 4. But I will focus more on the one, number 2, and number 3. Alright? Kasi ito ay medyo mahirap ba? Tama ba? Nalala niyo yung over and under applied overhead?
Yes, sir, naalala pa.
Yan. So we will go. Okay lang ba? Mahirap ba intindihin? Or madali lang naman? Naalala ko dati during my college days, no? Sa totoo lang, ayaw ko ng cost accounting. Kasi yung professor namin ay mahina ang boses, tapos hindi pa nagtuturo naman pero hindi ko maintindihan talaga. Sabi ko ayoko ng cost accounting, no? Pero that's the irony of life, 'di ba?
Sir, baka parehas tayo ng prof.
Ano? Parehas ba? Anyway, 'yun. Because of that, hindi ko alam, no? Kasi my first subject, alam nyo ba, nagsimula lahat ang academe ko, ang academe ko sa San Beda, Alabang. Okay? Nagsimula lahat ng pagtuturo ko sa San Beda, Alabang. Kaya parang utang ko talaga sa San Beda, Alabang. Kaya ako napunta sa Ateneo, napunta ako sa Lasal ngayon. At the same time, UANP and Perpetual also. So I have 5 schools no to teach because of San Beda College, Alabang. So parang ganun. Yun. That's why my first subject na binigay sa akin, dati hindi pa si Dr. Carpio, di ba? Or si Miss Coliano. Dati si Dr. Veron pa, ang aming chairperson. And he gave me cost accounting. Sabi ko, shit, cost accounting. Yun yung ayaw ko, no? In terms of the topic, no? During my college days, no? But of course, inaaral ko talaga, no? That's why I am an RCA now. And then so, also during that time, no, I was in San Miguel as cost accountant. So parang gano'n, siguro yun yung nakita sa akin, no. That's why now, until now, no, it's been my 5 years in San Beda College, Alabang, teaching cost accounting. Alright. Anyway, kasi naalala ko ito, number 4 and number 5, which is number 6 pala, over and under applied overhead. During my time, sabi ko, ayoko nito. Hindi ko naintindihan. Okay? But ngayon na dahil tuturo ako ng cost accounting kasi I am also cost accountant or cost accounting professor in Lasal and Ateneo. So parang na-apply ko siya in terms of your job, no, as accounting. Alright. So hopefully you will also learn of this, no. Noon ba nahirapan kayo dito? Under and over applied? Migs? Or alam na namin yan. James?
Medyo, sir. Medyo.
So alam mo na. Alright.
Medyo okay naman.
Yes, sir. Sir V. Alright. By the way, yung iba dito nasa BSA 2A. Para at least gusto ko lang yun. Pwede rin kayo pumasok sa akin sa pag Monday din. Okay, sa BSA 2A. Okay.
Anong oras po ba yun, sir?
Same time. Okay, 6 to 9. Or
Okay,
6 to 8 or 6 to 7. Same same link. Okay. Explain the characteristics and the purpose of cost accounting. Alright, again. Cost accounting is you measure, you record, and you report the product cost. Alright. My question here is, why is it that you measure, you record, and you report only the product cost? And what do you mean of product cost pala? Uh, James,
Sir, ito
Matthew.
yung mga direct cost sa mga
Okay.
products natin.
All right. So product cost is your direct materials, your direct labor, and your manufacturing overhead. Correct? So
Yes
anong
po.
tawag sa kanila? Yes, it is your product cost. Product cost is also known as manufacturing cost or inventoriable cost, 'di ba? So meaning, when you say product cost, manufacturing cost, inventoriable cost, it is classified first as an asset, correct? 'Di ba? It is to be transferred to your work in process and to your finished goods. Tama? The work in process and the finished goods are also part of your inventory when you are in a manufacturing company. Tama? Sir, how about the period cost? And what are the period costs? Bakit in the cost accounting we did not or we will not measure, record, and report period costs? Anyone? Or balik tayo sa definition. What do you mean of period costs? Jalen. Mm.
Sir, to be honest po, I have no idea na
All
po.
right.
And
No
sorry
worries,
po,
no
sir.
worries. Okay. Thank you for your honesty now. Anyone? What do you
Sir, can I
mean
try
of
po?
Sure, sure. Sige.
Sir, yung nare-retain pa
Matias.
lang po.
All right, sige.
Period cost, parang costs that are not included in the product cost.
Are not included in the product cost. All right? Yes? Tama. No? Kasi yung product cost is your direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. But be specific. Ano yung period cost?
Mga indirect cost ba yan, sir?
Indirect cost? Indirect cost is, di ba, overhead is also an
Mga
indirect
pala.
cost. Yes, pwede din, pero hindi lahat. Okay?
Sir, yung mga selling expenses,
Okay.
administrative
Very
expenses.
good, Rafaela. Okay? That's your selling and marketing expense at the same time your what? General and administrative expense. So in business world, no, the period cost is your what? Service cost, 'di ba? So in layman's term, when you say product cost, ito yung gumagawa ng produkto. That's why you have your direct materials, you have your direct labor, and you have your factory overhead, correct? Ano yung period cost? Period cost is the support in terms of selling your merchandise, 'di ba? Logistics naman, kayo, no? If you will become CPA soon, you are part of period cost. Bakit? Kayo ay taga-interpret, taga-analyze ng FS. You are the one who will support the production. For example, San Miguel Brewery. No? When I was San Miguel Brewery, I am the cost accountant there, senior finance analyst. Alright, ako ay na-assign sa uh, sales offices, no, in Naga sa Bicol, and also in Laguna, in Calamba. So meaning I am part of the finance department of the sales operation. So meaning my salary is part of period cost. Why? Because hindi naman ako gumagawa ng paborito mong beer, 'di ba? Kami ay taga-support lang, service lang, or service department by giving cost accounting. Tama ba? Alright. Then nalipat ako sa planta, sa Santa Rosa plant in Laguna also. So meaning, the plant operation, sila yung gumagawa ng San Mig Light, ng Red Horse, sila yung gumagawa ng San Mig Apple, San Mig Lemon. Na-try niyo yung San Mig Lychee? Na-try niyo na ba?
Hindi pa, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nasa
Yes.
7-Eleven, no? Masarap siya, di ba? Ayan. Pero para sa akin, masarap pa rin yung apple, na San Mig Apple. Yung bawa kumakain ka, malamig na lamig sa San Mig Apple. Sarap. Anyway, yun. So meaning, yung factory worker, yung plant manager, yung packaging department, and janitor in a plant, no, is part of product or period. Very good, Ram. It is now product cost. Kasi sila yung gumagawa na ng produkto. Alright. So wag malito ha. Product cost is also known as manufacturing cost, manufacturing, no? And your inventoriable cost. So meaning sila yung gumagawa ng kotse, gumagawa ng product mo. Okay? Period cost is the support, no? That's why in the period cost, kaya siya hindi siya you measure, you record, you report because period costs are expense outright. It is part of your expenses already. Inigaya dito na product cost, inventoriable muna. Kailan siya magiging cost of goods sold? Pag na manufactured na, pag natapos na yung product and naibenta mo na, will become part of your finished goods. Alright. Naintindihan ba? Shad?
Yes po.
Alright. Sana nandyan pa kayo ha? Alright. Sige. Cost accounting is basically consists of manufacturing costs. So meaning, manufacturing cost is your product cost, no? That are fully integrated in the general ledger of the company. Alright. Cost accounting system. So cost accounting system is basically, we will focus more on the perpetual inventory system. Ano nga ang perpetual inventory system? Ano nga sinabi sa inyo, Sir Josart? Di ba as opposed to periodic inventory system? In cost accounting daw, we will use perpetual inventory system. But my question is, Sir, ano nga yung perpetual inventory system?
Sir, pagkakatanda ko, yung
Alright.
perpetual inventory
Updated.
system,
Yes, very good. Sige. Ram.
ano siya, parang laging updated yung
Yon,
mga
very good.
inventories mo.
Okay. Tama yung RV and RAM, no? Laging updated in terms of your journal entry, di ba? You record everything. Okay? What if you are San Miguel? You are Unilever and Co. Okay ba ang perpetual? The answer is no. Lahat mo nire-record. Why? Because in the perpetual inventory system, yes, you are not required to conduct physical inventory count, but in the periodic inventory system, you are required to have physical inventory. All right, very good. Ram. That's why, in terms of the cost accounting, we have job order. At the same time, we have process cost. I think we will discuss process costing, no? After the job order. Okay? So we will discuss process costing. Okay? All right. So job order costing system, it is based on cost per job or cost per batch. All right. Again, it is each job and each batch. All right. Or cost per job rather than for a period, for a time period. Sir, bakit hindi siya time period? Ano bang tinuro sa inyo about the time period, 'di ba? In the process costing, what we reported or what we computed is ano 'yon? Work done. Tama ba? Naalala pa yung work done in terms of beginning, you're transferred out at the same time you're ending. All right, no worries. We will discuss naman later or maybe next meeting about the process costing. By the way, when is your midterm exam? Malapit na raw.
21 to 27 yata. Sir.
Wow. So we have 1 week pa. Alright, so supposedly I will give you quiz. Sige, wag na muna tayong quiz, no? But be ready now in your exam. Okay? So maybe the coverage is until the job order. Bilis ng panahon, no? Sa iba ba, nagmi-meet kayo sa iba? Or puro asynchronous?
Nung ano lang sir, nung may interruption.
Okay. So lagi naman kayo nagmi-meet. Alright. Sige. For example, kakasal na si Shad sa si Ram. Sorry diba? Soon. Alright. Pero mag-aral muna kayo ha. Alright. What if this is...
Maaga pa, sir.
Maaga pa. Tama yan. Mag-aral muna and then makagraduate. Okay. So this is the wedding invitation at the same time the menus. Alright. Pag sila, for example lang for example, 5 years or 10 years from now, no, gumagawa sila ng wedding invitation and menus. So, yung kanilang invitation is job order number 1. Okay? For example, it is job order number 1. Alright. So, as you notice, dito ay mayroong direct materials and direct labor. Tama ba? O ano dito yung direct materials? Yung paper used, the blank ink, the typesetting, the envelope are all direct materials. Correct? Sir, ano yung direct labor? Yung gumagawa nito. Hindi na siya one piece ha. Ang dami nito, di ba? O, ilan ba ang ano nyo? Wala. Ilan ba yung guess nyo? No? Yung kinasal kami, ang guess namin dapat ay 200. No? Kaya pag kayo kinasal, no? Huwag kayo mag-estimate ng ang dami. Kasi ang estimate namin is 200. Dumating lang ata 100 lang or 'di ba? Sayang ng gas kasi yung sa pagpakasal, 'di ba? Binabayaran yung per tao. Eh, what if hindi dumating, 'di ba? Although pag hindi naman dumating, okay naman kasi sobra naman, 'di ba? Pangat kasi pag hindi sobra. Okay? Eh kawawa naman yung bisita na walang pagkain. Kaya lang yun nga lang, ang dami naming na baon, no? Okay, yan. Meron, I remember. Kasi on October 10, we will be celebrating our 50 year, no? Wedding anniversary. All right. So meaning,
Congrats po, sir.
yes. All right, thank you. So meaning, this is job order number 1 and ang dami niyan, di ba? So ano yung overhead? The overhead, yung kuryente, di ba? Paggawa ng wedding and depreciation of the equipment are all factory overhead. Also, in the menus, you have your typesetting, the white stock, the lamination. Basta dito, you go back to our basic, which is direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead will be converted into the finished product. Alright. Parang kotse lang yan, no? Paggawa mo ng kotse, you have your metal, you have your wood, you have your mirror, di ba? Or gulong. Okay? And yung gumagawa ng kotse, 'di ba? And eventually will become part of your finished goods. Pwede mo nang ibenta, pwede mo nang bilhin ang let's say Honda CRV or Honda BRV. All right. I will discuss process costing to be discussed further. Okay? Cost accounting system again. The objective of this is to provide unit cost of information. Again, bakit sir kailangan you have your unit cost information? Number one, it is for product pricing. Sir, bakit kailangan sa product pricing? Common sense, no? If your cost per product or cost per batch or cost per job is 10 pesos, magkano dapat ang isa-set up mo na selling price? Alright, let's say si Ram, no? Nag-compute siya ng lahat ng kanilang cost per unit and na-find out niya na 10 pesos ang cost per, let's say cost per bote or per bottle of San Miglite. Magkano dapat ang selling price mo? Should be more than
More than 10
10
pesos.
pesos. Common sense lang. CPA ka nga, 10 pesos yung cost mo per bottle and then na-set up mo siya at 9 pesos, 'di ba? Nag-aral ka pa sa San Beda and then mali-mali yung product pricing. Alright. Also, the cost control for inventory valuation and for financial statement presentation. That's why very important is the role of cost accounting system. All right. Describe the flow of cost of the job order costing system. All right. So very important is again, go back to our discussion a while ago. You have your direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. It is your product cost, manufacturing cost, or inventoriable cost. In layman's term, yung mga materyales mo, yung gumagawa, yung overhead ay magiging finished product. Paggawa ng laptop, paggawa ng finished goods, ay kailangan ng materials, direct labor, and overhead. Pero, di ba? The parallel of it is the physical flow of materials as they will be converted into the finished goods. But the question is, Pag sinabi ba na ito ang ating katapusin, for sure ba na matatapos lahat? 'Di ba? Hindi naman, 'di ba? So saan siya mapupunta for the meantime if hindi pa tapos?
Work in process.
Work in process.
Very good. It is to be transferred first to the work in process inventory. Work in process is partially completed inventory. Correct? Then once completed, it is to be transferred to the finished goods. Once sold, transferred to your cost of goods sold. That's why the manufacturing cost is also known as inventoriable cost because it is, for the meantime, part of your inventory, which is work in process and finished goods. Pag naibenta na, will become part of your cost of goods sold. Alright, malinaw ba? Or alam nyo na to? Review lang.
Hindi
Hi.
naman naman, sir.
Alright. Nandyan ba kayo?
Yes, sir.
Alright.
Yes, sir.
Sige.
Dito po, sir.
Alright. Malinaw. Alright, sige. Next. So, in terms of the account, you have your manufacturing cost assigned to the work in process. Once completed to the finished goods, once sold will become part of your cost of goods sold. Alright. So, job cost flow, you accumulate or assign. So, later, we accumulate all and we assign them to each product. So, wag naman na yan. Alright. So, what if this is your entry? All right. So we will go back to our discussion as you discuss in your cost accounting. Okay? Sige nga. I think gumaron ako dito. Ayun. Pero uulitin ko na lang ha. All right. Number 1. Ulitin ko na lang. Kita nyo ba? Kita nyo ba? All right. Number 1. What if you purchase raw materials? Okay. Go back to your discussion again. Wait. Para malinaw ha. Kita nyo ba? Maliit.
Yes, sir. Okay naman yan.
Saan na yun? Ayun. Alright. Number 1. Okay, review lang tayo ha. Review from your discussion. No? Alright. Number 1. What if you purchase raw materials? What is the entry for number 1? When you say raw materials here is basically your raw materials inventory. So go to number 1. Ano yung number 1? Number 1 is your raw materials inventory. Alright. Alright, very good, Ervi. So what is the entry for number 1? So if you purchase raw materials, no? So number 1 is you debit what? Raw materials
Debit raw materials.
inventory. Alright. Diba ito na yun, diba? Number 1, which is 42,000. Wait lang. Sorry, 5 minutes lang. May nag-text.
Sige lang po, sir.
Alright. Alright, sige. Number 1, the entry is raw materials inventory. Alright. How much is the raw materials inventory? You have 42,000. All right. So you debit raw materials inventory 42,000 and you credit here, let's say cash na lang or accounts payable or cash na lang. Okay? But if you have cash worth 42,000. Take note of this. When you say raw materials inventory, no? Kasama dito yung direct materials and indirect materials. All right. Why? Again, in terms of indirect materials, it is part of your direct materials or factory overhead.
Factory overhead.
After
Very
overhead.
good. Factory overhead consists of indirect materials, indirect labor, and other factory overhead. Sir, bakit po indirect materials ay part ng factory overhead? Bakit po yung indirect labor is also part of the factory overhead? Because they are indirectly charged to the specific product, which is because of the immateriality or the immaterial of amount. Diba? O yung pako. What else? Mga bolts and nuts. Diba? Yan ay immaterial in terms of amount. That's why it is part of indirect materials as part of your factory overhead. How about indirect labor? Indirect labor is also part of the factory overhead. Bakit yan ay kasama sa factory overhead? Kasi, again, their labor or their salary are indirectly part of the finished product. O, ano yung sample ng mga indirect labor? Sige nga, Matias.
Supervisors, sir.
Supervisor
Managers.
ng managers ng, depende
Ng
na.
production department.
Very good. Ng production department. Kasi kung production or yan ay manager ng sales department, it is not part of the factory overhead. They are part of the period cost. All right, very good, Matias. All right. Number 2,
Thank you, sir.
incur factory labor. So, number 2, go back to number 2. So, you have here, di ba? So, you debit here, factory labor, debit. All right. And, magkano yun? 32,000. All right. Sabihin natin, automatic, cash na kaagad. Kasi, di ba, madami pang factory labor. You have your SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig. Kasi kailangan mong bayaran yan sa Bureau of Internal Revenue. To the SSS, the PhilHealth. Yeah? Sige, for the purpose of this, I will just put here cash na lang. Okay? Worth 32,000. Okay? Take note ha. It should be, pag kayo nagkatrabaho na, importante na yung salary nyo ay credit ng cash. Bakit, sir? Kasi kung salary is payable yan, ano gagawin nyo? What if accountant ka, nakita mo, ang daming salaries payable. Anong gagawin mo, Matias? Mag-resign ka
Sir,
na.
wait, sir. What's the question ulit, sir? Sorry.
The question is,
Medyo
what if yung factory labor mo debit, pero yung credit mo salaries payable? Meaning, mag-resign ka na kasi puro utang yung
Puro
pansweldo
utang.
sa'yo. Diba?
Opo.
Alright. Wala lang. Kasi, yan. Again, in terms of the factory labor, kasama dito yung direct labor and indirect labor. Tama? Yan. Number 3, you incur manufacturing overhead, which is actual to ha. Okay. What is the entry for this? So go back to number 3. Say number 3. Ito, number 3. So manufacturing overhead. How much? 13,800. All right. So you have here 13,800. Let's say various accounts. Bakit sir various accounts? Kasi pwede kasing pwedeng depreciation, pwedeng utilities payable, yan. So you have here 13,800. All right. Yan. All right. Number 4. 'Di ba? Magkano lahat ang raw materials na nabili mo? 'Di ba worth 42,000. Sa number 4, kailangan mo nang gamitin yung materials na 'yan para gumawa ng o para gumawa ng product. Okay? So, meaning, out of 42,000, ang ginamit lang ay 24 plus 6. Alright. Sige, para ito na lang. No? Out of 42,000, we will use 30,000 para magamit sa production. Out of 30,000, 24K daw is your direct materials. And the remaining 6,000 is your indirect materials. Alright. Gets ba? Again, out of 30,000, 24 daw ay part ng direct materials. Yung remaining na 6,000 ay part ng indirect materials. Gets ba?
Yes, sir.
Alright.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, what is the entry for this? If we will use that in the production. Saan charge ang direct materials? Charge siya sa, ito na, di ba? Charge siya sa work in process. Sir, bakit work in process? Kasi gagawin mo na ang produkto mo. Alright. Di ba? Oh, so hindi pa tapos. That's why it is part of the work in process, which is your direct materials. How much?
24.
May tumatawag pa. Alright. Direct materials. Sorry ha. Narinig ba? Alright. So, work in process. So, it is worth 24,000. How about the indirect material? Saan siya charge?
Manufacturing overhead.
Manufacturing over.
Alright. Very good. It is charged to manufacturing overhead, which is 6,000. Alright. Manufacturing overhead, but it is part of your indirect materials. I am indirect materials. Hi. And what is your credit?
Raw materials
Raw
involved,
materials.
sir.
Very good. Raw materials inventory. Worth 30,000. So, magkano na lang ang balance mo sa raw materials inventory? 12,000
12,000,
na
sir.
lang kasi ito pa yung gagamitin mo sa next month. Alright, very good. Number 5, factory labor is used. Alright, magkano? Malamang lahat ito gagamitin, no? Hindi siya kaya ng materials na pwede mong ilagay sa ending. Out of 32,000, alright, 28,000 daw. Okay? 28,000 daw ay part ng direct labor. And the remaining 4,000 is part of indirect labor. Ayan. Saan charge again ang direct labor? Work in process, which is your direct labor. How much? 28,000. How about the indirect labor? Saan sa charge?
Manufacturing overhead.
Manufacturing over.
Manufacturing overhead, which is your indirect labor. Very good. Worth 4,000. Alright, wait. And your factory labor. So, magkano ba na ng factory labor? Wala na. Kasi lahat yan ay gagamitin mo as part of your labor. Kasi ito ay salary, no? Alright. Alright, next. Number 6. Number 6 is the overhead applied. What do you mean of overhead applied? As what you discussed from Miss Mariel.
Sir, try.
Sige, Matias.
Sir,
Sorry. Alright. Sige.
sir, yun ba yung mga machineries used po?
Yes,
Mga
very good.
machineries,
Machineries
mga-
use, depreciation. Pero, yes, tama yan. Pero bakit siya applied? As you remember, in the work
Used
in
in-
process here, you have your actual direct materials, actual direct labor, and applied factory overhead. Ang tanong ko is, ano yung applied factory overhead?
Sir, yung predetermined natin. Kasi
Yes.
ini-estimate lang natin siya.
Very good. We will use predetermined overhead rate, and the predetermined overhead rate is based on estimated amount. Take note of this. When you record work in process inventory, you record actual direct materials, actual direct labor, and applied factory overhead. Meaning, applied factory overhead, the overhead is based on estimated amount. My next question is, how come that the overhead is based on estimated amount? Pwede naman siyang i-actual, di ba? What is the reason? Eugene.
Sir, I'm not sure. I don't know.
All right, sure. Any guess?
Hmm, I don't know, sir.
All right, sure. James Matthew, sige. I think nakita ko nag-unmute ka. Sige.
Siguro sir, kasi hindi natin na exact,
Very good. Tama yun, di ba?
hindi natin
Kasi
exact
there are
alam.
times na, or let's say, sino sa inyo ang may plans ng Wi-Fi? Malamang may Wi-Fi kayo, may internet kayo ngayon, di ba? Sino sa inyo ang may telephone allowance or telephone postpaid plan, di ba? Sino sa inyo ang may cable, di ba? As you notice, what if the cable, the telecommunication, the Wi-Fi is part of your production? Kasi kailangan mo ng internet sa production. Oh, kailan ba dumadating ang ang billing statement? Yan ba ay dumarating on time?
Hindi.
'Di ba hindi? Minsan one month pa nga, 1 month after pa nga ng reporting period mo. Minsan nga ang tagal pa, 2 months pa. That's why, ihintayin mo pa ba yun? You need to record monthly. The answer is no. You need to estimate your overhead rate because of that. That's why, in the work in process, again, you record actual direct materials, actual direct labor, and your estimated or factory overhead applied or applied factory overhead. But, no, that's why maybe next meeting we will discuss about over and under applied, because for the meantime, it is estimated pero kailangan mo rin siyang i-compute ng actual cost of goods sold. That's why you have your over and under applied. Alright, malinaw ba? Malinaw
Yes,
ba,
sir.
Lay?
Yes po, sir.
Alright. So hopefully, mas malinaw sa inyo ngayon. Okay? Alright. Overhead is applied. Now, for example, here, don't worry, I will explain naman to later. No? Overhead applied. So number 6. As you notice, di ba? Work in process siya charge. Okay? So meaning, you debit work in process, which is your applied factory overhead. How much the amount? The amount is 22,400. What is your credit? Di ba? Hanapin mo yung kabangga niya. Di ba? Ito yung number 6, which is your manufacturing overhead, and the amount is 22,400. Question, madali ba? Alright. Take note of this. No? Take note kasi later or next meeting, we will discuss about the application of factory overhead. Take note of this. What if you will do a T account? Okay. What if you will do a T account? Let's say this is the manufacturing. Take note kasi para mas madali kayo mag-compute ng over and under applied factory overhead. As you notice, lahat ng actual overhead, di ba? You have here actual indirect materials, actual indirect labor. Saan siya charge?
Debit.
Debit. Ano
Sa
number
work in
3?
process.
1386. Ano yung 4? Tama. Okay, ano yung debit mo? 'Di ba nandito yung 13,800, 'di ba ito 'yon? Oh. Go back to your T account ha. What else? Nandito rin yung 4,000. Sorry, 6,000 muna. 'Di ba ito 'yon? 6,000. And you have here 4,000. Sir, ano 'yon? 'Di ba ito ay actual? Tama ba? Your record in terms of the overhead in your T account, if you debit overhead, it is your actual. Correct? How much is your actual here? If you sum this is 23,800. Okay, gets ba? Alright. Ano yung nasa credit mo? 'Di ba? Andito yung, 'di ba na-credit mo siya based on applied factory overhead. So we credit here 24,000. So ano yung nasa credit mo? Your applied factory overhead. Correct? Hi.
Yes po.
Alright. So meaning, what we debit is your actual, what we credit is your applied factory overhead. Kasi para later, T-account to ha, T-account to ha. Debit, sige, para maintindihan. Debit, and you have here credit. Sorry. Yan. Okay. So meaning, in the work in process, ano ba ang nilalagay sa work in process? Actual or applied? Hello? My question is, in the work in process, ano ba ang nilalagay natin? Our
Actual.
Applied.
actual or applied? The answer is?
Like,
Applied.
Very good. Applied factory overhead. That's why here, we debit work in process is applied, di ba? That's why, ang nilalagay natin sa work in process is applied. So, ito yung nilalagay natin, 22,400. Kaya lang, nung nagbilang si Ram, at the end of the quarter, nakita niya na lahat ng kanyang mga billing statement, okay? Nung nabilang niya ay 23,800 lang pala. Pero ang na-charge mo sa work in process, na-charge mo sa finished goods, and eventually will become part of your cost of goods sold is 22,400. Pero ang correct ay 23,800. So, ano yung tama? 22,400 or 23,800? Of course, it should be 23,800. That's why, later, you have your, magkano yung difference? 23,800 and 22,400. You have 1,400 difference. Ano yung 1,400? That's your over or under applied. You applied 22,400. In fact,
Under.
you have
Under
23,800. Very good. It is under applied. That's why we will add 1,400 as part of your work in process, as part of your finished goods, and eventually will become part of your cost of goods sold. Pero usually, it is charged to cost of goods sold. No worries, we will discuss it later. No? Para papahapyaw lang no? Of what we will be discussing or we will be discussed next meeting. All right. Number 7, completed completed good are recognized. So, natapos na yung work in process mo, naging ng finished goods. Madali lang. You debit here, finished goods. Magkano? Ba ito yun? 39,000. 39,000. And you credit here, work in process of 39,000. Kasi ilipat mo lang siya sa finished goods. What else? Number 8, cost of goods sold is to be recognized. So, yung 39 mo ay naibenta na. So, debit cost of goods sold of 39,000. And you credit here, finished goods of 39,000. So, meaning, you have now, or you have transferred now to the cost of goods sold, meaning you have 0 finished goods worth 39,000. Any question so far?
ano naman, sir.
Malinaw ba?
Yes po, sir.
Alright, wait ha.
Gets na gets po, sir.
Alright, sige. So go back to our PowerPoint. Wala kayong klase ng 7:30 ha?
Wala po.
Kasi naalala ko sa atin na yun, may klase pala sila ng 7:30. Alright, sige. Accumulating manufacturing costs. So at this point in time, we will have raw material. So review lang to of what we discussed. No? What is the entry? So you debit raw materials inventory and your credit accounts payable. Di ba? Ito yung kanina. Ito lang yun ha. Yan. So ito yan. Di ba? Same as kanina. Alright? So in terms of the raw materials inventory, ano yung ginagawa natin? Diba? Usually, it is based on materials, inventory card, or bin card, or control card. Or you can use your Microsoft Excel to monitor the materials. Diba? And computer data files or manually, you can do bin card. Naalala ko pa dati sa San Miguel pa ako. Manual nila nilalagay. No? Parang meron silang folder, plus or minus lang. Sabi ko sa nung time na yun, sabi ko may hirapan paano pag nabasa yan, 'di ba? Paano pag madaga, no? So sabi ko, ilagay mo sa computer, no? Ilagay mo sa Excel lang, okay? So ito lang 'yan, no? But if you maintain handles, no? You have 2,000, 10,000, yan. So add or minus lang naman to. You add all the receipt and you minus all the issues. All right. Accumulating manufacturing costs. How about the factory labor? So factory labor is basically you just record the factory labor and then you minus all the sa SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, no? Yan. So ginawa na kanina, automatic na sa cash na siya, di ba? Pwede naman yan. Okay? In terms of the direct labor, ano yung ginagamit natin? Sorry, overhead pala is what you called predetermined overhead rate. That's why we have various accounts here because ang dami palang manufacturing overhead na nakalagay in terms of actual. Okay? So tayo ay various accounts. Alright. So explain the nature or importance of the job cost sheet. So after this is we will discuss also the job cost sheet. Alright. Ano nga yung job cost sheet? It is your work in process, or your actual direct materials, actual direct labor, and your overhead rate applied. All right. So it is called job cost sheet again to record actual direct labor, actual direct materials, and applied factory overhead. Tandaan yan ha. So ito yung job cost sheet na example. So you record actual direct materials, actual direct labor, and applied factory overhead. Sorry kung ulit-ulit ako para matandaan nyo. No? Alright. After that, job cost sheet is to be maintained and to have subsidiary ledger for the work in process. Question?
Wala,
Rob?
sir.
Akala ko kayo nawala.
Eh,
Sir, nawawala po kayo. Sir.
Nag-lag po kayo.
Sorry. Nawawala ba ako?
Okay, okay na ngayon. Okay na ngayon, sir.
Narinig ba kanina yung sinabi ko? Hindi. Alright, sorry. Ba't nawala?
Hindi po. Nawala.
Baka sa internet. Alright, again, job cost sheet, you record it on the actual direct materials, actual direct labor, and applied factory overhead. So, yun yung sinabi ko, okay? So, raw materials are assigned to jobs and issued by the storeroom. So, di ba kanina, sabi ko kailangan you have your bin card, but in terms of the issuance of materials, it is called materials requisition slip or PR. Yan. Sa amin, tawag ito ay PR. Sabihin ng production, kailangan namin ng handles. Kailangan namin yan para gumawa ng, ano kaya to? Manufacturing company. Let's say, kotse to. No? Yan. So, in-issue niya 200. Yan. So, ito yung PR. Okay? So, you have your quantity, you have your type, you have your account to be charged. And after that, no, the copy of it no, should be retained by the storeroom and the original will be sent to accounting. Sir, bakit accounting? Kasi yan yung trabaho natin to record, to journalize, 'di ba? The FS. Okay? Or to record it. Okay? So, as part of this, so as discussed a while ago, what is the entry? So, work in process is basically your direct materials. Manufacturing overhead is your indirect materials, and you have your raw materials inventory. Okay? As discussed a while ago. Okay? Same lang to kanina, ha? Okay, di ba? Same lang ba? Oh, ito yan. Okay. Alright. Factory labor. Okay lang ba? We will end this factory labor, then we will discuss next meeting about factory over. Kasi I want to focus more on the factory overhead. Kasi yung iba dyan nahihirapan, no? So factory labor are assigned to each job and performed by the employees. So ano nila, gamit nila, labor cost or time ticket, no? Employee hours work. In San Miguel, we're using biometrics and yung iba naman bin card, 'di ba? Kasi dito mo i-record kung ano oras ka nagtrabaho. Okay? Kasi binabayaran ka dito, 'di ba? Yan. And also to be transferred to your job cost sheet. What is the entry for this? 'Di ba? In terms of direct labor, it is 28,000 is charged to work in process, while indirect labor is charged to manufacturing overhead of 4. All right. So to summarize everything, 'di ba? Materials purchase, you have materials, raw materials, credit, accounts payable or cash. If you use or if you use the DM, okay? So you have work in process of the DM, factory overhead control, manufacturing overhead, same lang yan, ha? And materials. Okay. It pertains to direct materials. All right. Total labor, payroll or accrued payroll. So ito ay consists of direct labor and indirect labor. Sorry, this should be factory labor, ha. So you debit work in process for direct labor. Factory overhead control is for indirect labor and should be factory labor here. Ay ko ito nakakalimutan. Edit ko na. Sorry. So it should be or payroll. Kasi we credit payroll or factory labor. Same lang yan. Yan, kasi dito we debit payroll. Di ba? Alright. Alright, so far question. So I will not discuss everything, no? Kasi hindi siya effective daw. And the online learning, if we exceed 1 hour, we have now 1.5 hours na. O, question. So far.
Wala naman.
Wala
Ah,
naman.
sir,
Kasi for me, gusto ko,
Wala naman po. Gets
ayoko
naman.
kasing kayo ay, anong tawag doon? Kita nyo ba yung screen ko?
Yes po.
Okay. Ayoko
Kita
kasi
po,
yung,
kita po.
stop po na ha. Ayoko kasi yung iba kasi, 'di ba, nahihirapan, napakandaming information. For me, gusto ko malaman niyo, no, in terms of the job order costing. All right. So if none, thank you very much for this day. All right. So hopefully you learned from it. Okay.
Oh.
And
Thank you,
then
sir.
we will meet
Thank
again
you,
sir.
on Wednesday. We
Thank
will
you, sir.
discuss about the overhead before your final, midterm exam.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you po.
if none, thank you.
Thank you,
Hopefully you
sir.
learned. Sige, bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
po,
much, sir. Thank you,
sir.
thank
Bye,
you.
Alright.
sir.
Bye,
Sige.
sir. Thank you
Thank you
Alright.
po.
po.
Ingat
Bye-bye.
po lagi. God bless.
Alright. God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless po.